Welcome to Erin's World Famous. I'm Erin, and on today's episode, we're going to be making a super easy chicken pot pie. Here's the list of ingredients you'll need to make today's recipe. For the full recipe, please check out the description below. To start your chicken pot pie, you're either going to prepare a pie crust, or I'm using refrigerated dough. I just pulled it out on my counter for about 15-20 minutes before we're ready to bake, so it reaches room temperature. Next, we're going to boil our chicken. I would use about 2 large chicken breasts. Unfortunately, my grocery store was out, so I'm replacing it with chicken tenders. You're just gonna boil them in water until they're fully cooked to 165 degrees. After your chicken has reached an internal temperature of 165, go ahead and remove it from the water. You're going to allow it to cool until it's cool enough to shred by hand. Once you've removed your chicken, you're going to take your potatoes. I cubed up about 3 small potatoes. You're going to carefully dump them in the boiling water and allow them to boil for about 5 minutes until partially cooked. After about 5 minutes of boiling, you're going to want to test your potatoes to make sure they're about halfway cooked. They're easily pierceable with a fork, and now is time to drain. Next, you're going to take butter and melt it into a medium-high pan. Once your butter is melted and bubbly, you're going to saute your onions and carrots until your onions are slightly translucent. Now it's time to add your onions and carrots. Allow them to saute until slightly translucent. During this time, you can shred your chicken because it should be cool enough. If you want to skip the whole step with boiling the chicken, this is a great recipe to use for leftover chicken, turkey, or even using a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store. After your carrots and onions have sauteed for a few minutes, add in a couple of minced cloves of garlic. Give it a good stir until it's fragrant. And now sprinkle in a 1/4 cup of flour. Give it a good stir. This is going to help thicken up the filling for the pot pie. You want to make sure it reaches kind of like a light golden brown color. That way you know all the raw flour is cooked out of it. After the raw flour has been cooked out of your roux and vegetables, start adding a little bit of chicken broth. I'm going to add about 2 cups to start. That should be all you need, but I always like to have a little extra on hand just in case. Give it a good stir to incorporate all that and allow it to start bubbling. After you've incorporated your chicken broth, you're going to add about 1/2 cup of heavy cream. You could also substitute milk if you don't have heavy cream on hand. Once that's mixed through, you're going to pour in your potatoes and then also your shredded chicken. I'm going to allow this to reach a boil so it thickens up. Next, check your chicken pot pie filling for salt and pepper. I'm going to add in a little bit of pepper and just a dash more salt to taste. Next, add in about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of frozen peas. Give it a good stir, and then you're going to allow this mixture to boil for about 15 minutes or until it reduces until a thickness that you prefer. Once your mixture has reached the consistency you'd like, not too much liquid left in there, you're going to remove it off of the heat and allow it to cool slightly. And now it's time to prepare your pie crust. Now we're going to set up the pie crust in the pan. I'm just going to unroll it now that it's room temperature and lightly place it in the pan. Once it's all rolled out, I kind of like to pull it up and just tuck in the bottom corners. That way there's no air pockets in the bottom. Also, don't forget at this time, preheat your oven. I set mine to 425. Okay, with all the corners pressed in, make sure all the edges are out of the way, and then you can fill the pie. Next, spoon your filling into your pie crust. Once you've got it completely filled, leaving about 1/2 inch at the top, unroll your top pie crust and carefully place over top. Once you've placed your top crust on, kind of push it down onto the filling and create a seal with the bottom layer of pie crust as you go around. You'll have some extra pie crust along the top. You can use this for crimping or trim it off. I always like to leave a little bit of extra and make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Once you've got the top layer sealed, tuck the extra over all the way around, and then you can kind of add little divots with your fingers to make it almost like a fluted edge. It's way easier than you may think. After you've got a good seal on your top crust, you're going to want to take your fingers and poke around the edge to give it a fluted edge. You don't have to do this, but it just gives it a little bit of extra flair. After you've completed the edge of your pie crust, take a sharp knife and cut about 4 to 6 slits across the top, about 2 inches across each slit. This will allow the steam to escape, and then pop it in a 425-degree oven for about 30 minutes. After about 20 minutes, I'm going to pull this out of the oven and take a piece of foil and lightly cover the crust. That way it doesn't burn before the rest of the pie is finished cooking. Taking a square piece of aluminum foil and some kitchen shears and cutting a circle. And then once you do that, you're gonna unfold it and place it on top. Cut my hole a little too big. That's okay, we'll just fold it so that way it covers the crust, and that way the crust won't burn. And then you pop it back in the oven. After putting the aluminum foil tent on the pie, I put it back in the oven for about another 15 minutes until it reached a nice golden brown. You're gonna allow this to sit for about 15 minutes for it to set before you cut into it. After you've allowed your pie to rest for about 15 minutes, it's time to serve. And here you have your super easy chicken pot pie. If you've enjoyed today's recipe, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment on what you may like to see me cook next. But now it's time to eat. We'll see you next time.